Hello, everybody. I am Paula. I am based in Glasgow, so feel free to pause and rewind me because I'll probably start talking quite quickly. I am principally an acupuncturist. I have been a therapist for 17 years now, all in, including all the therapies that I do. Principally, it's acupuncture, and I run a clinic in Glasgow City Centre. I do one-to-one treatments. I offer a bit of coaching around improving your health as well, and I run some groups on Facebook as well, all geared around promoting natural health and getting to that perfect place of feeling awesome all the time. Yes. It is the basis of Chinese medicine practice, interestingly enough. It's that idea of everything works to this level just to keep everything ticking over, essentially. If you look at it, the Chinese medicine, we talk about yin and yang, and the Western medicine paradigm, they talk about homeostasis. It's that thing where your body's always just constantly adjusting to keep things in this nice, perfect little harmony. That's the gist of what it's doing. So this question was a bit of a no-brainer for me. It's that thing of, for us, when we see ill health, it means you're out of balance. That's the kind of crux of it. So your yin and yang are not balanced in the simplest of terms. We can get far more complicated than that, but keeping it simple, talk about yin and yang. So to explain a little bit about that, most people know the little symbol. They can picture the little kind of almost half circle in white, half circle in black with the opposite little dots in it. Yin is the dark, that's the black side. So yin is described as Chinese medicine is very poetic and very visual and very, they use a lot of metaphors, that's the word I'm searching for. So yin is the dark side of the mountain, that's how they describe it. So if you imagine that, like, you've got the perfect peak and the sun's right at the top of it, so one side's going to be hit with sunlight and the other side's going to be in darkness. And yin is that darkness. So yin is that inward, quiet, gentle, it's a very nurturing energy. It's also considered the feminine energy, so females are considered slightly more yin in nature. Yang on the opposite, so it's basically the opposite. So yang is movement, activity, outward expression. It's that idea of open and wide and all that kind of stuff. You can look at yin and yang in anything. So daytime is yang in nature because it's bright, you've got the sunshine. Nighttime is therefore yin. But you can also look at it in terms of temperature. So if it's hot, it's yang. If it's cold, it's yin, etc., etc. So I could go on pretty much forever. Hopefully that gives you a rough idea of what it all is all about. And for us, balance is maintaining that basically. So at night time, we should be sleeping, we should be quiet, we should be inward and quiet and restful. Whereas in daytime, that's when we're more energetic, we're out and about, we're doing stuff, we're being active. And you can apply that to seasons, you can apply it to anything. So in the summer, we're generally, and most people are sort of at some level aware of this, we're typically much more active in the summer than we are in the winter naturally. More activities happen, we're out more, we're socialising more. Whereas in the winter, it's dark, I'm in Glasgow, it's wet, we tend to stay in. We tend to retreat. It's almost that hibernation thing. It's not full hibernation, humans don't need to, but it's heading towards that. And that for me is what the balance is. So being out of balance is when you're fighting against that. So it's people, if you work night shift, for example, or if you're a night owl, that kind of stuff. Everybody's is slightly different. It's not to say that everybody has to follow the exact same pattern. But if you use that as a kind of general guide, it helps to make sure that you're in balance. And you can look at it in terms of food, you can look at it in terms of activity levels, all sorts. So if you do, for example, if you're a personal trainer, chances are you're pretty active all day long. You need to make sure you balance that by having really down, quiet, easy time as well. So creating that balance between the two, that's, for us, that's what it's always about. It's creating that balance. So it's not about go, 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 go. It's about go, 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 stop, stop, stop. So it's that just always trying to create that harmony between the two, and allowing for those gentle ebbs and flows and those days where you can't be bothered, and allow that to happen. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's yang. That's too much yang. So you can apply it to absolutely anything. It's just a way of categorizing. So you can apply it to absolutely anything. So absolutely mentally as well. We currently, in this world we're living in, and this is one of them, this is a yang activity. It's not as yang as running about doing exercise, but thinking, processing, learning something new, having conversations, that's yang and activity. We as humans in this culture do that all the time. If we're not at work, we're on social media, or we're watching the TV, or we're having conversations, or reading, or in all of that is very yang. So all of that is very active. We very rarely, or that's certainly not the norm, is to give ourselves the opportunity to do the opposite, of to have that quiet, peaceful, reflective time where you're not thinking of new ideas, or you're not. Do you see what I mean? It's that. So again, yeah, 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 yeah. The suggestion would be to find ways to stop, find ways that work for you. And there are, it's always relative. So sleeping is very yin, but sitting quietly listening to a podcast is also relatively yin compared to going out to a pub, having a party or something. Do you know, it's that, it's more yang than sleeping, but it's still not full yang kind of energetic stuff. So it's about creating that balance. So, for example, a very good friend of mine um, is a martial artist, and also did acrobatics for a long time. And with his acrobatics, that's very, very, very physical and pushing your body to the nth degree. And he kept getting injuries because his body was out of balance. And what he realised himself was that he had to introduce other forms of exercise to balance that out again. So he started doing what's called yin yoga, really slow, just slow yoga basically, and taking that time to rest properly. So that it's always about just trying to find that balance for you, and for each person that's different. No, yeah, can feel, yeah. But it's learning to pull yourself down from that at least a little bit. So it's not a case of stopping completely. It's just trying to think of what the opposite would be. So if your favourite activity is running at 100 mile an hour or something, I have no idea. You have to then balance that with something else, um, that isn't as active, that isn't as physical, that doesn't require every moment of you. But also, running by its nature, and if you speak to most runners, since I've just mentioned them, that tends to be their meditation. So their brain goes quiet, so they actually get a rest. So although it's physically active, their brain's getting a rest. So there is, again, there's the yin within the yang. There's always the balance between the two. And it is just a matter of doing tiny little changes. So, for example, I wrote down my perfect day in balance, for example, as a idea. When I wake up in the morning, I'm lucky the way I've set up my life, I can just wake up naturally. I don't have to set an alarm. And I get up and I ease myself into the day. So I've been sleeping. I've come out of a yin activity. So I ease myself in. I do a bit of meditation. I usually do a little bit of journaling. And I also do a bit of gentle exercise, gentle stretching exercise, which is much more yin, but is more yang than sleeping. And then as the day goes on, yeah, as the day goes on, I'll become more active. And that's when I do more vigorous exercise. It's also when I engage in my work. And I'll do either obviously seeing patients, which is it's both. Everything's always both, but it's a very yang activity, being out and about and physically doing stuff. But also it's the time that I'll create, because it's the yang time. It's when my brain is awake. And then as the day progresses, I'll again slow it down a little bit. And we all tend to do this naturally. We don't get up and go straight into exercise, like 100 mile an hour. We tend to ease ourselves in a little bit. And then the same at the end of the day, most people that I work with, their evening activity generally involves sitting on the sofa watching the telly, which is more gentle than being at work. It depends what you're watching as well. But that, just there's that natural slowdown before we go to bed. No, no, it's something I've learned. It's something I've learned. And also as we age, that has an impact as well. When you're 5 years old, when you're awake, and you're asleep, you're asleep. Do you know that's so there's that, and they very quickly shift between the two. Whereas as we age, it becomes slightly more gradual. But most of it I have learned from doing what I do now. So it has something that I have been taught and learned to just have that adjustment and that shift into life. And I don't do these things every day. Um, and some days I have absolute rest days, and because other days I know I'm going to be really busy. So if I know I've got a really busy few weeks coming up, I will schedule in a weekend where I speak to no one, see no one, my phone goes off, and I'll just lie on the sofa and read a book or something. Do you know? So I always find ways to try and balance it out again. Um, in an ideal world, we wouldn't allow that to happen, but that's just not how the world works, I don't think. And I think we have those phases of kind of almost mania. It's never quite that strong, but almost mania. And then you have to balance it out again. Whatever way works for you. It's one of the things that I absolutely love about Chinese medicine is there isn't any hard and fast rules. It makes it very difficult to explain to people sometimes because it's like, well, do what's right for you. So if for you getting up and being active straight away is what works for your body, then do that. It's not what works for me just now, so it's not how I live my life. I choose to change it. I wasn't like that in my 20s, and in my 20s is when I learnt about this. But I was much more able to sort of bounce back, if you like, to just keep going and keep pushing through and not feeling as tired. Whereas as we age, we naturally have less energy, so we need to sort of protect it more almost. Yeah, 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 yeah. They rebel against it. Yeah, yeah. Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's setting boundaries is really important, and teaching, like regardless of the age of your children, you can teach them actually, I have 5 minutes on my own today. At this time, at this day, I have 5 minutes alone. And they will learn to respect that, especially as they're a bit older. With younger kids, it's a case of grabbing it while they're sleeping, I suppose. So while the kids are sleeping, that's when you have your quiet time to read a book or just sit quietly or whatever it is that you find relaxes you and cools you and calms you and helps to quiet the mind. If you think of it even in those terms, like what gives your head a bit of space, that's the activity that's right for you. So it might be going for a walk while the baby's in the pram sleeping or something. Anything that just gives you a bit of space. There's so many ways you can do it. And also ask for help. I think that's a huge thing. We're so, say to your partner, if you've got one, say to your best friend, look, I need half an hour. Gonna just take them and give me a bit of space. Ask. And then you can also, do it with a fellow mum that you've met at your toddler group or something. Be like, if you take them today for half an hour, I'll take yours tomorrow for half an hour. And then you're just getting that tiny little bit of space. And for me, the trick that I've learned, and it's something that I educate my patients or remind my patients of, is that don't fill that with stuff. So because your kid's asleep or because they're away somewhere else, don't then fill it with stuff to do. There's always stuff to do. There will always be stuff to do. Just give yourself permission to, have a lie-in. So get the kids into the bed on a Sunday morning and you can all sit and read a book together or something. You don't have to instantly switch on and create that activity for them. It'll be good for them as well. Um, yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, 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 yeah. It'll get done. Yeah, huge. Busy. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 You won't have that chance. And that's where that, like, it's something, and I hear people saying it all the time. And I think I'm in a same sex relationship, so it's different for me, but I hear it in straight couples all the time. And it's that, like, he helped me with. It's his house too. It's his responsibility. It's equally his as it is yours, as it is your children's. Don't do everything for your children. When they're 2, they can't do the ironing. When they're 10, they can. Do you know, it's that, like, find jobs for your kids to get them involved in that thing of running a house and everybody involved in it. And it's not all on you. Um, mm, yeah, yeah, no, no. Yeah, it's your children. I know. Yeah, Yeah, it's one of those strange, and it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? It's that thing of I helped her with the dishes. Well, they're your dishes too. It's not, do you know? And I think being in that same-sex relationship, it does change things because we then have conversations about whose job is what, rather than it being assumed. Do you know? So like, my wife cooks the dinner, but I do the dishes, or I clean the bathroom, but she does the garden. Do you know? It's that kind of. Do you know? But it's a conversation we've had to have because there hasn't been that assumption that the guy cuts the grass and the woman does the housework. Because I'm just very aware of seeing that with my patients on a regular basis, and again, that's part of that. It's not quite asking for help because it's your partner if you're lucky enough to live with somebody. That it's their responsibility too. If they lived alone, they would do it. But because they live with somebody else, they just, well, well, most do. Most people do. Most. Maybe not to your standards. That's the other thing, is about looking again, talking about the values and that level of standards, and like leaving the dishes till every single pot has been used. It's like that. Why does that matter? As long as they're getting done and the place is clean, that's fine. If you wait until the end of 2 days. That, for example, my dad years ago lived on his own, and the house he stayed in had a dishwasher. So he deliberately bought enough dishes so that he only had to use the dishwasher when it was full. Now, as a single man, that took quite a few days. But that's what he did. So rather than doing the dishes every day, he just let it build up for a few days and made sure he had enough plates to survive those few days, and then did so just shift. It's that, yeah, to me that makes perfect sense. It's that you're making the most of what you can without getting yourself too caught up in being this perfect thing of you can't possibly have a coffee cup sitting at the side of your table for a day or whatever. Do you know, there's ways and means around all these things. Yeah, yeah, yes. Don't come to my house. Yes. When I am in, yes, I do. I feel things, the best word, I was thinking about this quite a lot last night actually. The best word for me to describe it is that life feels easy. I'm not constantly in conflict, and I'm not constantly, so when you, for example, going back to the kind of energy side of things and that tiredness feeling, if I'm exhausted, everything becomes a battle. It's that, right, oh, I need to go into the dishes, oh, I need to go into this, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that, nah, 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 nah. But I'm exhausted. Whereas if I just take things a little bit slower for a bit, build my energy back up again, things just flow, things get done. The things that matter get done. That's how I would phrase it. It's that, like, well, actually, what's my priorities? That's what will get done. So for me, it's that's the kind of crux of it. It's that ease. There's no guilt. There's no resistance around doing things. It just happens. I also sleep better because I've done enough during the day. So I've used my yang up, if you like. If you think of it as like a complete unit almost, and you have to have it almost half and half all the time, roughly. It's not that simple, but we'll go with that. So I've used up my yang for the day, so then I sleep well that night. But I've also given myself the time to kind of wind down and switch off that yang energy, switch off the head before I go to bed. So it's that thing of, for me, it's setting up bedtime routines. Like most parents do it with their children without even thinking about it. It's like everything starts to get a bit quieter. You have your, story time, maybe a bath or something if you do that at night, whatever. But it's not crazy, let's go to the ball pool for half an hour and then go straight to bed, because that just doesn't work. But as adults, we expect ourselves to do that. So we'll sit and watch, even if it's just TV. That, like, I don't have an aerial anymore as such, so I don't watch terrestrial telly, but from what I remember, it's always really high impact, high drama stuff that gets your heart racing and gets you really engaged, because that is good telly. But then you expect yourself to go straight to sleep, and it's like, well, no, wait a minute, I've just watched all these people being chased and blah 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 and murders and whatever else you see on the telly, and then I expect myself to go to sleep. It doesn't, so it's winding yourself down. So I make a conscious effort to read for a little bit. I also make a point of going out every night for a quick walk with my dogs. I've got dogs, so it makes it much easier. The last pee of the night. And then from that point on, it's quiet. I don't, social media goes off, all that sort of stuff, and just give my brain a rest. I'll read a book if I feel like it, but I also pay attention to what books I'm reading. So I won't read something that's incredibly thought provoking right before I go to bed. I'll read something that's quite easy, and that if I fall asleep halfway through a chapter, that's fine. I can just put it down and go to sleep. It's fine. So it's that idea of just things just feel easier, things flow, you're not constantly in battle. Your energy's good. You're also, when you're fully in balance, if you like, you won't get ill. You won't feel tired, you won't get infections, you won't have any mental health struggles. Anxiety is a huge thing. Anxiety is that, as you mentioned before, about your brain just going crazy. And along with all the physical symptoms that go with it as well. That's a very yang state. So you need to counter it with the yin. Yeah, I think I've answered your question. Sorry, I feel like I'm prattling. Um, yeah, yeah. It kind of depends. If you are going to spend the rest of that, so say for example, it's 8 o'clock at night or whatever, the kids are in bed, you're exhausted, but the pots need doing. If you're going to sit down on the sofa and spend the entire time worrying about the fact that the pots aren't done, just do the pots. But if you can go, no, I would leave them. I would leave them. But again, as you said before, that's because I've done the work on it, and I know that tomorrow when I feel better, I'll do them then. If I have time, again, it's that thing of how's your life planned. If you know you're about to go and work a 12-hour shift, maybe you need to do the dishes now rather than doing them tomorrow. And the same, like food prep and stuff, I batch cook. So days when I have the time to do these activities is the days I do them. And then the days when I'm really busy and I don't have time to cook, I know the food's already done. So it's that thing of trying to plan your life a little bit. I'm not one for strict rules around things, and I tend to be quite like, I'm in the mood today, yep, great. Am I not? Oh well. Most things I kind of give myself a bit of give or take with it. So again, unfortunately, it kind of depends. If I'm absolutely exhausted and just need to sleep, I'll go to sleep. If I'm going to sit there thinking about it for 4 hours, feeling guilty about it, then I'll probably just do the task. But it depends what the task is. I mean, doing the pots isn't a huge thing to do. But like cutting the grass, for example, is a much bigger, for in our garden anyway, it's a much bigger task than doing the dishes. Doing the dishes will take me 10 minutes. Doing the grass is 2 hours. So I'll do the dishes, but I won't cut the grass. Um, how do I feel? Yeah. 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 And also that running around like a headless chicken. Why? Why are you running around like a headless chicken? It's that thing of, as you said before, about coming back to your values and what's actually important. Does every single one of these headless chicken type jobs need to be done? Are you doing it because you want to do it, because your house needs to be in a particular way? Are you doing it, again, like you say, because of judgment, because of fear of the pressure of other people and the expectation of what other people think you should be doing? Which social media adds a huge amount to, I think, with that. And I remember you talking about that right at the start of lockdown, about the don't try and be a teacher thing. It's like, you're not a teacher, don't try and do it. It's not your job. Um, so it's that, also looking at the whys. So why are you running around like a headless chicken? What is it serving? Why are you doing it? Um, should. Yeah. 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 Absolute pleasure. It's been fabulous. Thank you.